Alright, what's up ladies and gentlemen, it's Super here and welcome back to another Mortal Kombat 1 video. Today, we got some more quotes from Ed Boon interviews. A little bit more every single day. It seems like information is coming out. It's, well, not leaking. It's more like the information is sort of dripping down before that faucet gets completely turned on by NetherRealm Studios once they start ramping up their promotion. Obviously, it's only been a week since they revealed the gameplay where they could actually start talking about Mortal Kombat 1 in detail. But we got some more interesting stuff that was mentioned by Ed Boon that I'm going to read to you guys today. But before anything, I just want to say, obviously, thank you all so much for the love and support for the Mortal Kombat 1 videos. It's been crazy, guys. It's been crazy. And the next week is going to be even crazier because we got the MK1 stress test. So leave a like on the video to keep the hype going for MK1. I want to ask you guys one question that I need help on in the comment section because I'm down for... I was gonna say I'm down to please you guys, but it sounds a little iffy, but I want you guys to type in the comment section what character you want me to play first and focus on first in the stress test if we have the build that I played at Summer Games Fest that have Sub-Zero, Kenshi, Kitana, and Liu Kang. Out of those four, write down the name. What character do you want me to focus on first? I'll probably do a poll later on during that week once we actually know what characters are going to be in it. But write down in the comments for me. I would really appreciate it. Now let's talk about the first thing. And this one is something that I made a video on maybe a few weeks ago. And I don't think anyone really... well, I don't want to say that because, you know, there's a lot of people creating videos. But I sort of proposed the idea of having guest characters as cameos. And it wasn't really an idea that sort of came to my mind, like the big brain idea. It was more once the cameo fighters were explained a little bit more. And, you know, based on some Ed Boon tweets wanting to bring back Alien, wanting to bring back Predator, potentially bringing back a character like Freddy, it gave me the impression that cameo characters as guest characters as cameo characters is something that was a possibility, and Ed Boon pretty much hinted at the fact that yes, anything is possible with cameo characters. This is his direct quote. This one comes from an interview by Warner Brothers Latino. I'll put the link to that interview down below in the description. I'll also put the interview that I talk about a little bit later, but they pretty much asked if cameo characters are just going to be classic characters or if there's going to be original characters that are in the cameo roster. And Ed Boon said, expect anything with cameo characters. And then he goes on to say this, and this is a direct quote from Ed Boon. He said, we're very excited to explore even guest characters for cameos. Bam, baby. Guest characters as cameo characters would be absolutely amazing, because if we can't have Predator or Alien or Freddy Krueger or these characters that have potentially been in past Mortal Kombat games, they can be base roster characters. It would be cool just to have them in the game. Or if there's a guest character that maybe they couldn't fit in the game, but they could fit them as a guest cameo character, that would be awesome. Man, just the possibilities are endless with the cameo characters, especially if they start adding guests in there. It's gonna get crazy. And like I said, I made a video about this like 2-3 weeks ago, sort of wishing and hoping for cameo characters or cameo character slots to be taken up by guest characters. A lot of people love that idea, and I love it too. I think it's going to be really interesting if that actually happens. Who knows? It might not happen. It might happen. But if it actually does, it's going to be interesting to see what cameo or what guest characters make it as cameos. And by the way, obviously, Ed Boon said that they're going to be adding cameo characters as DLC down the road, making that roster even bigger. Because right now, the cameo characters are 16 characters. The roster is 16 characters big. It's probably going to balloon up to like 25 or like 26, maybe even 30. Who knows? This game, it's going to have an insane amount of characters by, you know, 2 years down the road. All right, so these next questions here, I want to read to you guys some of the Ed Boon answers because some of them are pretty interesting. This interview comes from venturebeat. I'll put their article down in the description so you guys could go read it. They asked a lot of really good questions for Mr. Boon. So the first one was, I'm just gonna like paraphrase a lot of this. I'm not gonna read like word for every single question and answer, just because then it'll take a lot of time. But they pretty much told Ed that it was a relief seeing Kenshi appear in the Mortal Kombat gameplay trailer because they thought that NetherRealm might go with more of a classic character roster, meaning Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. So the venturebeat pretty much told them that it was a relief seeing Kenshi. And Ed Boon's reply to that was, yes, we have characters that represent the arcade era, 3D era, and MK9, X, and 11 era. There's definitely what you would take as surprise appearances by some characters from the 3D era. So, obviously, that's definitely a relief because as much as I love some of the newcomers and some of the classic characters, it is going to be really cool to see how 3D era characters are reimagined by NetherRealm Studios now, because if you guys remember, back in the day it was Midway, so now we have a completely brand new team handling Mortal Kombat, even though, you know, the mastermind Ed Boon is still there, but it's going to be really interesting to see how they reimagine some of these 3D era characters that are going to be on the main roster. So that's really cool, and it also opens up the opportunity for, you know, potentially having Mr. Aaron Black in there. I'm you know, sucking on that copium, ladies and gentlemen, because Aaron Black probably has a 0.1% chance to make it. But the fact that he mentioned that they could represent, or they're going to represent characters from all eras, you know, who knows? They might they might throw me a little. Well, it wouldn't be a breadcrumb; it would be a whole meal, and have Aaron Black be on the roster. But I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. All right, next question here was something that I probably would have asked Ed Boon if I had a chance to interview him. The question pretty much was, are you concerned about fan feedback and fan like backlash if their favorite character is a cameo character? Obviously, that's a concern that all of us have. I don't want Ermac to only be a cameo character. I'm cool with Ermac being a cameo character, but I would want him on the base roster or on the roster. Same thing goes for the robots. So we all have concerns for our characters that we know and love to be only cameo characters. Ed Boon's reply was, I think a lot of players assume if we see someone as a cameo, they won't be on the main roster. And then he gives the example of Kung Lao, Scorpion, and Sub-Zero all have cameos and they're going to be on the main roster. Sonya is probably going to be on the main roster as well, based on some, you know, hints that Ed Boon has given about Sonya being one of the main characters where the idea of cameos came from, because you know, someone pitched that it would be cool for Sonya to fight with a drone that would be like next to her all the time. And this was before cameo fighters. I covered this in another video, but it's pretty clear that Sonya is going to be a main roster character. So he gives those examples, and then he says, we do want to have in general a separation. So they do want, you know, as much as these iconic characters are going to be cool as cameo fighters, they do want a separation between base roster and cameo roster. So obviously there's going to be a lot of cameo characters that are not going to make it onto the game. There are going to be deep cuts of the 3D era, or just older Mortal Kombat games. Characters like Goro, who might not be on the main roster, unfortunately. But he says that they do want a separation between cameo and main roster. But that doesn't mean that just because a character is a cameo character doesn't mean that they can't be a base roster character. And then he goes on to say the most iconic characters are both on the roster and as cameos. So I'm wondering now if Jax is actually going to be a part of the roster, because obviously Jax is one of the most iconic characters. Same thing goes for Kano. He's been there since Mortal Kombat 1. Sonya is a pretty guarantee that she's going to be on the main roster. I have a feeling that if they showed Kano and Jax as cameo characters in this build, who knows though? Who knows? Would I like to see Jax come back? Yeah, I would like to see Jax come back as a main fighter. Would I like to see Kano come back as a main fighter? Hell no. I'm sorry to you Kano fans, but you guys know how I feel about Kano. I never liked Kano, so if Kano sits this one out, I'll be all smiles and it wouldn't keep me up at night, not even for a second. All right, next question here. Well, it's not really a question. It's more like a compliment. Pretty much, you know, telling Ed Boon that Mortal Kombat 1 looks absolutely gorgeous as far as the color palette and how bright it is compared to MKX. MK11 did a lot better job, I will say that, even though my color corrections kind of make the game look better. Same thing for MKX. If you turn on your MKX with no capture card, no modifications to the colors, because the way I make my videos look brighter and better looking is I just bump up the saturation on my capture card and a little bit of the brightness, and then you get what you get with my videos, which makes even Mortal Kombat X look vibrant. But if you turn on the game without any of that, man, MKX is a gray as hell game. There's like a gray filter over everything. That's one of my dislikes about MKX. I love the game to death, but there is like a gray filter over the game that makes it look ugly at some points, at least not colorful. MK11 did a lot better job. MK11 looks gorgeous. The game looks beautiful. And there's a lot more vibrant colors in it. But compared to the color palette of MK1, MK1 looks super vibrant, and I love it. I love it. It just makes the game and characters and stages pop out. The game just looks gorgeous. And Ed Boon pretty much said that's by design. They want to have each game have their own identity, and having the change of, you know, engine and, you know, these different color options and just in general options that they have, they wanted the game to look a lot more vibrant to give it that identity. And I'm happy about that because it looks beautiful. I mean, just look at this, like the classic tower, just the menu and the background, all the greens, and you see the brightness. Everything looks beautiful. Like Johnny Cage's mansion looks amazing. Next up here, all right, we got, will characters have different intros or customizable intros? Because they asked, you know, obviously MK11 had customizable intros. You could put one out of like 4 or 5 intros depending on what character it is. And the answer is going to be no, ladies and gentlemen. There won't be any sort of customization with the intros in MK1. Ed Boon said everything is going to fit in this template. We may have something they do animation-wise, but we're happy with this format. What he means by that is there are different sort of animations that they do once the match is about to start, like where their intro dialogue would be after the character select screen dialogue. They have different intro animations that they do, but they're not going to be customizable. Everything is just gonna, you know, fit in this template that they pre-made. So everything is just, every character is probably gonna have maybe 2 to 3 intros that they sort of rotate on, at least the animations that they do when the match is about to start, but you're not gonna be able to customize any of that. Going back to the classics, and hold on, there was another question. I'm looking at my phone right now. Oh, this one's important. So they pretty much asked him, you know, they told him that MK9 sort of revolutionized the way story modes and fighting games are told, and Ed Boon confirmed that the MK1 story has a crazy ending. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. I can't wait to do a story mode playthrough of the MK1 story. He said that the ending is crazy, and they're gonna follow the same format that they have followed as far as chapters go. I think, let me see, I could just read you the quote. I could see it here. There will definitely be a twist. The ending is crazy. The format, we're going to keep a lot of it. It's more sophisticated presentation, or it's a more sophisticated presentation of that, but we're certainly going to tell a cinematic movie-like presentation. Then we also have other game modes that are coming that we'll be announcing later. We do feel that that's one thing that separates us from other fighting games, our story mode. The interesting thing is that Mortal Kombat 9 wasn't the first to do it. Mortal Kombat vs. DC was the first to do it, and then we refined it. Even through the Injustice games, we refined it there. So he didn't actually mention if there was going to be 2 different endings. Obviously, that's kind of a spoilery thing. But he did say that the ending is crazy, and they're going to follow the same format, just like MKX, Injustice 2, MK11, pretty much since MK9, right, with the chapter system. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Leave a like rating as always. Any more information, I'll keep you guys updated as much as I can. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.